Let's go.
Okay.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the live stream. I'm joined
Hello.
by, with three amazing people. I've got my business partner, Victor, obviously. And then we've also got Bob from B0bs and also Amanda from ResellMaven, both awesome WhatNot YouTubers that are going to be at the Books and Beyond Resellers Conference, which is going down in a couple of weeks. Can you believe it?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
No, right?
I know. It's really crept up on us September 13th through 15th. And what I think is so cool about WhatNot, and we'll get into it more here, is that it's selling on a different platform outside of Amazon and eBay that can be very monetizable and make quite a bit of money. So with that said, how's it going, everyone?
It's going great.
Amazing.
Doing good.
We have people from
Books and Beyond. I've been focused on that almost every day. So
yeah, both of us. We got Mario from Israel saying hi.
Wow. Hi, Mario.
We're international already with this live stream, which is great. hey, how's it going? Also got Chelsea in the house. All right. So how about just a brief, I know I interviewed you both on my YouTube channel, but not everyone here probably watched that. So why don't we start with Bob, if you don't mind, kind of just very, very general background about you and what you like about WhatNot. How about that?
I've been reselling full-time for almost 3 years now. And I found WhatNot in 2021 at the end of the December of 2021. And I've been on there since then. And that was before there was a books category at all. But me and a couple of friends just kept pushing it out there. And so eventually it became its own category. And now you have even more awesome people doing it as well. So it's just grown, and it's not only a great place to sell books, but it's also an amazing place to source books because you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes there are people on there that don't know things. And that's when you swoop in. So
that's me. You meet the person who sometimes sells books for $5 that are way more than $5 books.
Hey, but you made your money. That's how I feel about it when that happens.
Yeah, and that's the video you made today, Joji. It's not always about what exactly it is, or is it? Sometimes it's what the market makes it, and I can make my market work for me if I need to by lowering that price just a little bit. So
really cool. Yeah. What's interesting here is that you could take a book that you would sell on Amazon and sell for $8 and really make nothing, right, Victor? If you were to sell a book on Amazon for $8, I think you would net like $1.50 or something, which is really not very much at all, right?
But then we had to pay for a prep center, so that we lose money off that book.
We lose money.
Yeah.
But we can take that same $8 book. It might sell for, how much would it sell for you, Amanda? This like an $8 book that's popular on Amazon.
See, and that's a tough question because you do a lot of nonfiction and a lot of. It's not necessarily the same popular, but I sell books for $8 all the time. I sold a couple books for $8, but for example, today I sold a book that brand new off of the shelf. I think it was released last year. You're probably still spending $19, $20, and you guys can probably even sell them on Amazon for $20, quite honestly. I sold it for $8. So that's kind of the ratio, like an $8 book profit after fees for Amazon. $4 or $5 after profit for fees on WhatNot. So it's not too far off, but I'm also not selling $100 textbooks. So
that's true.
But the difference is that if you're an Amazon FBA seller, you have to package up those books, send them to Amazon, wait for Amazon to process them, and then have that sale roll in. Was on WhatNot, it's literally the same day.
That's very true.
Wow. Yeah, that was one of my questions, was actually, what is your guys' cash flow? Like, after you sell a book, how long do you have to wait to actually get the money into your bank account, right? For us as FBA sellers, we're like 3 weeks away. Even if their sale happened today, we're 3 weeks away from actually getting that money into our account. And so that can kind of be challenging for newer sellers.
The answer to that question is
for a lot of people.
But you have to have sold over 1,000 items. So the way it works, but prior to hitting that $1,000 item threshold is 3 days after it has been delivered to the buyer. So for those first 1,000 items, it's kind of like Poshmark, which is another reselling platform, where it's 3 days, or Mercari, 3 days after the buyer receives the item and it's been delivered and there's no problems, and then you get the money, versus if once you hit that 1,000 item threshold, it is as soon as you print the shipping label.
Wow.
That's awesome. Chet's coming in with an awesome question. how do you gain a following on Whatnot? Because there are times where no one can be viewing you, right? What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. And everyone, as my new logo or slogan is everyone starts at zero, because it's so true. But a lot of it is consistency. I think that's always going to be my number one tip is if you're going to sell on Whatnot, you can't just dabble in it. You kind of have to set up a routine or some sort of schedule. You need to have good inventory every time you do a show. You can have some inventory that doesn't move. That's fine. But in between those, you need to have some good, some good books or some good items, whatever it is that you sell. And, you need to be responsive. You need to pay attention to the chat. You need to be somewhat organized. You need to have some sort of an ability to have a general flow with the way that you do things. So it's not that you need to be the all-in-one package, but I do think there are these certain things that are kind of baseline. You need to be able to read a chat and answer questions. You need to be able to provide good quality inventory. And you need to do that more than just once in a blue moon or when you feel like it. So,
yeah, you have to treat Whatnot as growing another social media presence. Okay. So all the same stuff applies as if you were starting YouTube for the first time or starting a Twitch channel for the first time or doing Instagram or TikTok. It is basically a social media platform that you can sell on.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And a lot of people are going to ask where you get the books from. And I'm assuming the goal here is to get the books as cheaply as possible. And again, we went over these in our interviews, but again, not everyone here was able to watch those. So will you both mind kind of talking about, are there any sorts of, say sources that you have found work better for Whatnot specifically?
It's funny because we both live in the same city.
Okay. We literally live in the same city, and we had no idea. I have been going to that Goodwill for at least 2 or 3 years, and I have never once seen this woman in my life in person.
It's so funny.
So it is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But we source from a Goodwill outlet location. So that's definitely, for me, source number one. And then cherry picking other Goodwills, Salvation Armies, DAVs. But it's almost all in-person local thrift stores for me.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's the same thing for me. I think she goes to auctions and I go to estate sales. That may be the only difference.
And I don't go to estate sales at all.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then
we're in different niches perfectly. So
yes, yeah, actually, yeah. Does Whatnot have an algorithm you have to optimize for? No. Yes and no. So you will get more viewers at certain times. It's just like a live streaming platform, just like YouTube or Twitch. There's going to be probably more people on at night than there are during the day. But it also depends on the niche that you sell to. So, Amanda sells a lot of children's books. So I don't know if that has impacted your selling times, as you're going to be more for stay-at-home moms.
Evenings, for sure, versus daytime. Daytime parents and teachers are kind of doing their own thing. And I think nighttime for most people is better. I usually try to recommend people do like an after 3 or 4 p.m. their local time, or, mostly that Eastern time. But there's people that go on at 8 o'clock in the morning and do great. So it really is niche specific.
Yeah, I do a lot of my science fiction shows at 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So it depends. I mean, I have gotten some remarks on my BookTube channel being like, hey, could you maybe do this at a different time?
A better time. Yeah.
Well, but Sundays are interesting because I never would do a stream on Sunday. It's my one sacred day off of the week. And Sundays are huge on Whatnot. And so I think you can get away with some things on certain days that you can't on other days. And Sundays are one of those days. So if Sunday's flexible for you, you should try to see if you can work that into your schedule.
And as far as the algorithm goes, about the only thing that pushes you up in the search is if one of the people that work at Whatnot are noticing you're live and it's going well, they will push your stream forward on the carousel. Whoa. And then another way to indicate that to them to do that is you can tap, and your viewers can tap and make hearts and stuff. And the more hearts, it just is indicating that there's more engagement. So that will kind of if someone in the back end is looking at it at that time, they might push you forward. So there's not really an algorithm per se.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know also sales make a difference. If you're making a lot of sales, that's showing that you are, utilizing the platform they want it the way they want it to be utilized so they can make money as well. For me, that's kind of weird because I will go an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 hours without making a sale because I'm doing bundles. Or I'll make 1 or 2 sales on auction. And then I don't make a sale for 30 minutes, and then I'll make another random sale. So it's very interesting. For me, I don't utilize that component of the algorithm that does not really exist, but sales, running giveaways, and just lots of chat, being engaged, that kind of stuff matters. But I don't know how much it matters because it's very new still.
Yeah, and as she also like runs her auctions completely different than I do. I have I actually like do 1 through whatever, and I go through that, and I am hard set. I do not do bundles. I do not do any giveaways. And I think that's a good thing to showcase too, because we do have completely different selling strategies on WhatNot. We sell completely different things in the book categories, and yet I feel like Amanda's very successful.
Yeah.
And you have way more stamina than I could.
Completely different than us, and it might still be really successful. Yeah. So that's kind of one of the things I'm going to talk about in my talk at the Books and Beyond conference is the different ways that you can monetize WhatNot. And it isn't just my way or Bob's way or, so-and-so's way. I think there's about 5 or 6 true different ways that you can really sell successfully on the platform.
And do either one of you guys have like theme events? Like, say, for instance, I know you guys have talked about like Christmas in June or July or something, where you have like some Christmas books then. Or I know, Bob, your birthday was like a month or 2 ago, and you had an event just for your birthday, or I said it was your birthday one. Do you guys have other ones like that? Say like books that are only $50 or more, like event or something. Do those tend to go well, or do you have those?
Normally those go on eBay for me. So
okay.
Really expensive books.
No, those go on eBay for me. Mostly the events that I would do would be genre, like a specific genre or specific type of book. Like I did specifically brand new books, like because I got a dealer, I've got a big lot of them. But then I found out that I sold just as much, or if not more, if I just mixed them in with my regular genre fiction. So I stopped doing that. So it's whatever your audience is receptive to. I did take a little bit of a tip from Amanda and try to get rid of some of my kids' books that I have not listed. And that went really well. So
nice.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think I have a love-hate with the themes because I think that themes sometimes narrow you down too much, and it does eliminate a larger part of your audience. But I think there are fun themes like it's my birthday, or I'm celebrating 1,000, followers, or I'll do stuff like when I went to Vegas last month with friends from WhatNot, we all met in person. That was the theme for one of our shows was we're doing a raid train and we're just literally raising money for Vegas. So the theme was give us money. You can kind of really do whatever you want. And I think that doing the niche down can work if it's specific, but it's hard to alienate a lot of the other people that may not be interested in that specific theme.
Yeah, one question that's always interested me about WhatNot is what role does it play in the book selling experience for a customer? Because as Bob mentioned, it's like a social media platform. So the reason why people would consume social media is because they enjoy a person and they want to know more about this person's life. And so I'm curious if you think most of the people buying these books are buying it because they like you, because you have a social media presence and they want to buy from you and support you, versus somebody who's just like a customer that goes to Barnes and Noble, for example, and it's like, I'm going to go to Barnes and Noble because I love reading and I know that I'm going to find a book that I like to read. So what do you think? Do you think people are just showing up as book lovers? Like, I'm just going to try to find something in my genre that I think I might like, or do you think they're actually just supporting you and buying for that reason?
I think both, strongly both. It's weird to me how many people are anti WhatNot, whether they know about it or don't. There are people that just would never want to shop in that format. Then there's people that love it, that are like, I'm never going to Barnes & Noble again. I couldn't imagine walking into a bookstore and paying shelf price unless I just have to have that book and I can't find it anywhere else for cheaper. And then I say this all the time. I think roughly like on a Saturday night, I believe that there are 10 people almost always that are in my show that don't talk, they don't comment in the chat. I don't know who they are. I may recognize their screen name if I saw them, but they are literally just there to like support me, because I know the other handful of people that are in there talking and my normal people, but there's always like out of the 30 or 40 people, there's like 10 people who are just in there to the very end. When I'm rating into someone, I'll still have 15 people in my show, 5 people are talking, and I'm like, who are all of these other people that are just here for nothing? I'm not selling anything, going to town on the chair. So I think that yes, it's why I say both. That's my answer. There are definitely people who are loyal, and then there are also people who are just like, that's not for me, or I'm only here for something specific. I get people that pop in and buy one book. Do you have this? Yes. Can you run it? Thank you. I run it, and they leave, and I don't see them again until the next time they need a certain book. So
makes sense.
Yeah, I would echo that. For me, it's like I do know there are people there that are literally there to support me and based on what I'm bringing, because I almost always do a YouTube video on my BookTube channel before I do my book WhatNots. And I also know that because of the way that I list stuff before and that it's organized by author and title and condition, like I go into it in the item specifics. There are people that will just organically find that item on WhatNot and buy it. Cool. So I would feel like my organic traffic is just in the app is people just wanting that specific book or wanting to buy that, and they've just managed to find it because of what they've entered in to search, versus there are a lot that just come because they want to support me. So it's both.
Cool. Deli says, are there different types of buyers or viewers you encounter on WhatNot? Do you strategize around them specifically?
That's a good question.
This is my wife, and she loves to ask these type of questions.
Those are some great questions.
So yeah, it's a great question.
So for me, I found that I have had the most success with vintage science fiction and fantasy. I also on WhatNot do sell clothing as well that I get from the bins, or I get from other sourcing opportunities that are very, very cheap. And because when I started on the app, like I said, there wasn't any books category. I was brought on to sell women's vintage clothing because that's one of the other things that I specialize in. And I found that didn't work on the app at the time because they had like 5% female audience, versus that has drastically changed over the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. So it's just like with any other social media platform or any other buying platform, you have to find what works for the people that are actually showing up to your show and buying stuff. And so far, that is what I found success in, is selling like more modern clothing. If I'm doing clothing, and then for books specifically doing genre. And so far with kids, I have found that the only success I've had is in Little Golden Books and Goosebumps.
Nice.
But
yeah, that's 100%. You're going to find your people, and you'll start to learn what they like. I source, and I know exactly who's buying that book as I'm picking it up. So I know the books that are going to go on auction with a battle. I know the books that are going to, just sell for their normal price, and they'll go into someone's pile in a bundle. So I've been preaching a lot of trial and error in the book business, and I think in any reselling business, but I think that's really what it is. Like, pick up the books, learn what sells, learn what doesn't. And if it doesn't sell, just don't pick it up again. Even if you think it's really cool, if it's not selling anywhere, then it's just not a valuable book. And so unless you're a collector, you might want to pass on those. And so just get to know your people, ask people what they're looking for, take requests, keep an eye out for new stuff, try it. And if it's cheap enough to try, and hopefully it works, and then just rinse, repeat.
Makes sense. Victor, so you can go ahead and read this question for him.
Okay, so do you have to list your books before the show starts, and how do you do shipping? If someone buys more than one book, does the shipping cost less? How does the shipping work?
We do this completely
ours
different,
a little differently.
Okay.
Oh, really? Okay, this is awesome. So one does bundling, one doesn't do bundling. Both they live in the same
and she
city. You
lists
both have
hers
cats,
with
by the way.
details. I don't list any books ever except for my buy it now. So I personally, I don't list my books. I do bundles. So I will show all of my new inventory one book at a time, and I will make piles of those books. So instead of making a listing, I'm just physically showing them on the camera and getting an immediate yes or no. And then all of the books that like at the end of the show that don't sell, they make it onto the shelves. I have shelves all around, and those are pictured in the auction tab. So they aren't individual listings. They are actual listings of the shelves that people can browse. So again, just taking bulk pictures or live showing. And then I, as far as shipping, use media mail. I don't use any flat rate shipping or anything like that. So everything is just by weight via USPS's media mail policy. And it's pretty spot on. And what it basically is, like any shipping you would do anywhere, you have your initial cost. And then as you add items, it'll be a lower cost. So say they buy a book that weighs like a pound, their initial shipping is like $4 and some change. And then every book, depending on how much it weighs from there, will be an appropriate discounted rate. So if it's a light book, it might be free. It may be as low as 25 or 50 cents. If it's like a heavier book, it could be upwards of $1 or $2 additional. It just kind of depends, but that's how I do mine.
Yeah, it's $4.87 for the first pound, and then it's 75 cents for each additional pound after that. So as long as you put in the weight appropriately for whatever it is you're shipping, then that it'll show up on the app. Actually, it shows up because I list all the items. The shipping and taxes actually shows up for the buyer when the item is live for the auction. It'll show up for them. Like they can click on it. If anybody has any questions, like how much does it cost for shipping? I'm like, this is where it's located. You can check it out really quick, and it's really easy for that. So it encourages them to buy more than one book, because it's normally, oh, well, I paid $5 for shipping, almost $5 for shipping. I might as well get another thing. So it does make it so most of my buyers buy more than one item.
Yeah. What's interesting is that people who are from our community, Victor's and we do online book arbitrage. We buy books on Amazon specifically and sell them on Amazon, but there's other opportunities. Like you can buy books on Facebook Marketplace, on OfferUp. I think this is an interesting way to also do online book arbitrage. It's, because if you do browse through listings on WhatNot or different sellers, I guarantee you, having interviewed both of you, I know that there's opportunities to sell books, to buy books from you and sell them for more. Obviously not every book. It's kind of probably far and few in between, but it definitely exists. So it's an interesting thing that I think it might even be a cool video to see if I can even do that, just to see if that's possible. But
well, I've seen some sellers on the app. I've actually seen one or two booksellers on the app that actually will go to their bins and do the show live. So cool. If you're chilling at home one day and you see somebody doing that, oh, wait, can you look at that book? And it's one of the ones you already know that's good on Amazon FBA, they could source for you and ship it to you.
Wow.
So I've seen a lot of that.
What percentage of sales go towards the fee? So I guess what are you netting if you sell a book for $4, $5, $8? What would you net?
It's 8%. It was what WhatNot takes, 2.9% for the processing fee, and then 30 cents.
Okay.
So and that match shipping. You have paying fees on shipping and tax as well.
Right. So you're making quite like a pretty insane margin. Most of that is actually going in your pocket, which is pretty crazy.
It's definitely some of the lower fees on platforms. It's like roughly the 13%. And so
yeah.
I think one of the things you guys have versus like FBA sellers is that you guys really like love books, right? You guys like love the different, because of that, about these like different niches that maybe I won't know. When Bobby, when you were being interviewed by Joji, you kind of talked to him on some of these books that had different covers that were literally double or triple the price that us Amazon sellers would have scanned it, and that book would have been like $10 or $12, but because it's a different cover, it's like $80 or $90. So do you have like a list of those books?
No, I have a mental. It's really all. It's just because my brain holds on to stuff and it doesn't let it go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's so funny. That's the question that comes back time and time again with, and when especially in YouTube comments and here in interviews, Amazon sellers want to know, where's the list? Where's the, how do you know? How are you figuring it out? And it really is just, it's all up here. It's a little trap.
Yeah. It's crazy that in our world, Victor and I's world, it's crazy that you could be that successful without using data, because we solely use data for everything that we do in order to buy books and sell books. But it just shows you that, your mind is very powerful, and that if you are committed to learning, gaining new experience, and just seeing what works, well, obviously you can both be very successful because you're doing it full time. It's not like you have a 9-to-5 job and you're doing this on the side. Both of you are full time. Like, you guys are full time resellers. And
I mean, I would feel like it is data. It's just we haven't written it down anywhere. We haven't made a program or an algorithm. It's just like, oh, okay, I saw this thing. It sells for this. It's just going to go in the box.
Maybe we should get on that. We need to create something, because I feel like that's an untapped market. Used book sales outside of Amazon.
Yeah.
I will say, speaking of different covers, I found my best individual book flip ever the other day. Now that the bins are back, someone in ecom missed it. And speaking of different covers, you may know this one, Bob. It is a first edition Sarah J. Maas, Throne of Glass. But it is the first edition original Barbie cover. Like,
they call it the fairy cover. It's called the fairy cover. Yeah.
Okay. See, I've always called it the Barbie cover because she looks like a little Barbie. So the original sells for crazy. I mean, you can just, depending on the condition, get it from maybe somewhere as low as 50, but upwards of 120, 130. And this one cover sells for closer to 400 to 600. So just a huge jump. So I saw it, started hyperventilating, took deep breaths, buried it at the bottom of my cart, and kept it going.
This is what she's talking about.
That's what you're talking about?
So it's not that cover, though.
It's not. I know this is like the 4th or 5th book. Yeah, but
it's not the cover where she looks like that. It's not that cover.
Oh, I think
it's the original first edition.
The original.
I don't know about you, Victor. That book to me looks like I wouldn't even be worth selling on Amazon. It looks like a popular book that we can.
It's really that.
You guys
that type
see
of
those?
stuff.
Don't pass them up.
When I'm like, oh, this book has a different cover right away, I'm like, okay, well, I can't sell that on Amazon. But now I'm realizing that I actually should look that book up, because it's probably even more. It's worth.
You might be the only one.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, you're talking about the headless Barbie.
The headless Barbie,
where it's just like the bottom half of her face. No,
her whole face is on it. Just look up. Throne of Glass first edition. Original cover, sort highest to lowest or something.
Yeah, that's funny. Hashtag team no data, says Delia.
I mean, that's the same. No,
I don't know.
Yeah, it was insane. I found the first edition, like that one, and it was an ex-library. I did the best I could to get all the stickers off. It actually cleaned up really nicely.
Oh, you're right. It is called the Barbie cover. I've never seen that one. I've only seen the fairy covers. This is the fairy cover.
The fairy covers are great
very
too.
much. Yeah, the fairy cover is also good. I mean, those normally sell for 50 to 80, depending on which series it is. Can you
tell us what's so special about the one you just showed us, Bob, and then also Amanda? What again so special about these books?
I guess it's rare, right?
So the one that I have is like the first, like original cover, 2012 first edition original printing hardcover with a jacket.
Was it just not printed very much? Was it just not printed very much? Is that what?
No, and they went with a completely different direction. Those fairy covers are gorge, and they went with more of a fantasy vibe with that, with the weaponry and stuff. Whereas this one is very mild. It's very like she's very like delicate face, blondish kind of hair. She's just very innocent. Where those, she looks more like a little like tough. So I think they just went with a different direction and they switched it up. And now the covers even look different from that. They went with it looks like a building almost. So they've just changed them, and those ones are way more valuable because they were the first printing. So yeah, you guys need to get on those. If it looks different, that might be a good thing.
You put that on eBay, or what did you sell that?
That'll be on eBay. Yeah, that listing will probably go up tomorrow on eBay. Yeah, and that'll just be as a buy it now. It won't be as an auction. I haven't looked it up individually. I just looked it up by barcode. There's only 2 listed, and the lowest listed is 400. I think the highest was 600, but the most recent comps are in the like $400 to $600 range. So.
And Bob, the book that you had there, that one's special because it's like a second edition.
Also, well, it's okay. So what happens is a lot of times when a book blows up, the publisher will just go with they'll switch gears. They're like, okay, well, now that this has achieved mass recognition, let's make it pretty. Because they have a bigger budget, they want to appeal to a higher audience or like the wider audience. So what they'll do is they'll do a republication, and based on whatever is popular at the time that is being republished. So I think the ones that the fairy cover, which is what this cover is called, is so because that one was from earlier, I think these ones are 2018. Now I'm gonna have to look it up. This is what's popular then versus now. If you go and look up the Throne of Glass Hours, the Agatar series, they're like very plain. It's just big letters with like filigree. And because the minimalism is more of what's on display now. Like if you go into a Barnes & Noble and you look at YA covers, like most people are faceless. It's like a 2 slightly more flushed out stick figures doing various romantic things. So it's just like a change in the publishing and how the art style changes. And
can you educate us a little bit on
booksellers? Because now it gives you an option to have a book that now has an elevated price range, just simply because it's out of print. So.
Can you educate us a little bit? So someone asked, it's the difference between a quote edition and printing. So what is the difference between edition and printing?
I'm going to defer to Bob on this one. I think she'll do a better job at explaining it than I can. I know it when I see it. It's hard to like verbalize it for me.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to do any better because for me, it's a little murky. So there can be a first edition. So that's the first time that artwork's being used and that format's being used and that publisher is being used with a second printing. So it could be a first edition, second printing. So it's the same exact book with the same exact cover, the same exact materials. Everything is exactly the same. It's just the second run through that press. So like they sold out of that first printing. Here is the second printing. There we go. When you get into a different edition, it's normally something and it has changed. Either there's a new forward, there is slightly different artwork, there is like different quality in paper, and they might have changed the printing press that they're using. It could be literally anything.
A small adjustment to something even in the book, like a word change
typo
or a sentence.
Okay.
Wow.
And then that would be a completely different edition. So something can be, or they decide to do alternate covers like I showed you when I talked to you, Joji. Like that is technically a first edition, but a second printing because they had an alternative cover to that book. So it's still considered a first edition, but it's also a second printing because it's one of the alternative covers.
Which is why it gets so hard, especially when you are listing something and you're trying to explain what it is. Because if you don't, there are people, I think you guys were talking about this in your interview. Somebody would return something because they're like, that's what I wanted, but that's not exactly what I wanted. But it was exactly what I wanted, but not exactly. It's so weird because you weren't wrong, but you were totally off at the same time. So.
It's like, that is not the pulp that you showed. And people, that's the thing. Like for me, normally the people that I'm selling to when I'm selling vintage are people that are wanting specific types, that are specific books or specific printings or specific artwork. So that means I also have to learn like Boris Vallejo, like different artists of that genre. So some people will only collect books. They don't actually care what the book is, but they care about the artist that does the work on the book. So they're collecting specifically for that artist, like Foss or like I said, Vallejo. Like like I really like Michael Welling covers. You have no idea who that person is, but he is somebody who does book covers, and I think he does amazing jobs with them. And it's just, that matters to people because people are really passionate about books. And that is definitely something that I have learned being on BookTube, is that when I'm on my reselling channel, I might get 1 or 2 comments. When I'm on my book channel, I'll get literal mini novels of themselves talking about like when they read the book for the first time or how wrong I am. And here's all the other background information to how wrong I am, that my own personal opinion is different than theirs. And
it's deep.
It is deep. People really care. Yes. And then there's American editions and UK editions. And there's actually, as far as Harry Potter books go, it's actually a completely different language. Even though they're both in English, they use specific dialect because if you listen to someone who is actually Welsh and someone who is from London versus someone who's from Scotland, they use different slang, they use different verbiage, different from America. So
one question that people ask Victor now all the time when they start selling books on Amazon, because that's again what we do, is they are always asking about condition. If the book, let's say, has bumped corners, or the dust jacket is missing, or the dust jacket is torn, or, for example, they asked us that question, like, can I still sell the book? I mean, both of you are much more in tune and connected with people who love books. I think you both love books yourself, but then you also sell to people who appear to actually love the book. So, like, how much does the condition of the book change the price you're asking for and whatnot, for say?
Mm-hmm.
For me, a bit. I take that into consideration. So a book, I'll be showing it, and in my brain, as I know I'm about to show it, I'll say, okay, that's a $6 book. And then as I go to pick it up, I feel something, a crease on the back. And now in my brain, I'm thinking, let me check that out. I flip it over, see how severe it is. Oh, there's a couple of bookmarked dog-eared pages. Okay, now that's a $5 book. Or, shucks, I just opened it up and realized there's an inscription in it. Okay, well, it's still a really cool book, guys, but I'm going to do this one for $4 for you guys. So now they just went from a $6 book to a $4 book because of the 6 seconds of me touching it, feeling it, and conditioning it. And then if it's not as a desirable of a book, there are sometimes that I'll say, hey, someone will want it. I'll realize there's something wrong with it that really degrades the value, and I'll say, I'll give it to you. I'll put it in their pile for free even sometimes. Hey, if you still want to keep the book, it's still readable. It just has enough damage that I can't really put a fair price on this for you. If you want it as a freebie, I'll put it in your pile. So it's a good blend of meeting people with the conditions for me, because I do a lot of modern.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I do a lot of vintage and rare books. So while condition does matter, because again, a lot of the people I'm selling these to are collector, condition books will still sell well if it is rare. So there's not a lot of books in publication for it. I know that last year I came into a big book haul, and some of the books that I picked up, because the fact that there aren't that many of them in rotation anymore, because a lot of the older books, like the pulp books, which is what that person wanted for the Vonnegut book, they were made with lower quality materials, and they were meant to go in your back pocket. So it was like meant to be temporary. It's almost like they treated paperbacks then like ephemera. It wasn't an actual like book that you're supposed to hold on to and keep on a shelf forever. It was just something you paid $0.25 for at the corner market. You read it until it, or carried around with you until you fell apart. Like, it wasn't meant to be something that you kept in a library somewhere. So because of that, a lot of them have just, because it's paper, it's paper, it's paper made with an acid process. So they have deteriorated and aren't there anymore. So a lot of the, especially more vintage collectors, while they will pay more for a better quality book, they'll still buy it because they can't find it anywhere else.
Do you guys ever source like ex-library books? And if you were to like find those at like Goodwill, would you still pick those up? And would you like maybe take out $1 or $2 if you find those, or do you see those at the same price? Basically that.
Yeah, I try to avoid them as much as possible, but some of them you just can't pass up because they're going to sell, and people don't care that it has a library sticker on it. But it does affect the price for me a little bit.
Yeah, same for me. Like, unless it's signed or like a first edition that's super rare, I avoid library sales. Or like, the library has done very minimal alterations to it, because if it's just like that front barcode sticker or the back barcode sticker and a stamp, that's really easy for me to remove the back barcode sticker, and that stamp is not going to degenerate the book very much.
Right.
So at that point I would pick it up. But if it's like got the full plastic wrap cover and it's got the thing on the spine and the other side,
it's just
I want
too
nothing
much
to do
work,
with it.
right?
Yeah.
Do you think you think you're going by or passing up rare books often? Because I know you both have a lot of knowledge in this world, or in this realm, but there are so many books. There's like over 100 million books listed on Amazon, right? It's obviously impossible to know every book that's rare. Like, do you actually imagine or think that you are just passing up tons of books that are actually worth quite a bit of money just because you don't know? You're just
I'm positive.
Yeah.
I'm positive. Whenever I film going to the bins, that's comments I get. Why didn't you pick that up?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of book sets. Time Life, Harlequin, Romance, Reader, Digest, Condensed. Should I try to sell those on WhatNot, or am I wasting my time with sets? Good question. I don't know the answer to.
I don't know the answer to that either. I don't do romance.
Okay.
I've thought about it because I know I participated in WhatNot did a love auction, but I brought a bunch of pulpy men novels to that because that's what I have knowledge in, like the thriller, like James Bond type. I'm like, there's still a love story in there that counts, but I don't know anything about Harlequin romance novels. What I would recommend is to try it, Mountain Jeeps. And if it works, great. I mean, if you have a lot of them, and you're offering them for really cheap, that might be a really great way to do that, or like to do a set.
Yeah, cool.
Just try it and see if it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I normally lean a lot more towards the just try it. There are some things I could tell you straight up, just no, not really. All right, I'm sorry, Carbon. Sorry,
you have a list. You can tell us a list now. I'm also curious about this do not list.
Of the do not list.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm willing to take any list.
I think the Harlequin and Reader's Digest might actually be on that list, if I'm being honest.
Oh, wait. She's talking about the condensed ones where it's got like parts of the stories in them. Oh no, I have
like
those
the pretty spines, but they have like 5 stories in one or something.
Yeah, so and it's all the abridged versions.
Those as like color. I call them colored spines because I do different color books and decor. So you could sell it as decor. For a lot of people, they're beautiful, beautiful books. I've never had somebody want one, and I have had some on my shelves in my decor section, and they've seen them, and I've never had anyone ask me for them, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. And Harlequin, you can barely sell them on eBay, to be quite honest with you. And so the market is smaller on those. And I have tried to give them, was the lowest I went. I think I did 2 for $1. 2 or 3. I think I did 3 for $1. I'm being honest. That was the lowest I went on them. And they still were just like, they picked out a few. I will say, I think if I remember correctly, it was a lot more of like the Western style romance that tended to like move out of them. That was about it. Your standard, just like Fabio looking guy on the cover with the, like love story. I think they're a little dated, but there's a market. I just don't know of it personally. So
right. You'd have to like
probably not.
probably not. You say that, but I watch Mel from Back from Burnout, and she sells Mills and Boon, which is basically Harlequin but in Australia. Yeah, and she sells big lots of those every day.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But
she also has one repeat buyer too that does a lot. Not all of it, no. But I'm just saying, it's very niche. Your buyer pool is quite small, and you have to think how small WhatNot's buyer pool is. So you're really dealing with a small demographic. But what I would say is, if you are approved to be a seller, and that's something that you're like kind of curious about testing the water in, is put all your Harlequin and take a picture of the spines, put it as a thumbnail, schedule your show, put it out for like 2 or 3 weeks, put your title up. I have tons of Harlequin books. All needs, must sell everything, or doing clearance, whatever a buzzword to describe how you would want to run your show, and just see how many bookmarks you get. If you get 10, 15, 20 bookmarks, okay, well, that's 10 or 15 or 20 people who might be interested. So then do your show and then go for it. If you get 0 bookmarks in 2 weeks, there's your answer. And you don't even have to waste
just cancel the show. You don't have to worry about it, right?
Yep. And you move on. And you could do the same thing with the Reader's Digest condensed.
Now, I will say that if you are a new seller, whatever your first show is going to be bumped up on WhatNot. That is something that WhatNot does try to do for their new sellers, is because they do realize it is intimidating to go live for the first time. So they will try to bump it up, whatever category it is. So I would recommend, if it is your first show, to like bring the best stuff or something that you have a lot of, and don't get discouraged if like not a whole lot of people show up, because like it's literally your first time. But if you have good stuff and you put a good thumbnail or make a quick little video in it showing what you're going to sell, people will still show up to your show.
Typically, how long do you guys run your streams? An hour, 2 hours, or is there like an ideal time?
How long? Yeah, I'm curious. How long does it take for you to go from your list top to bottom usually? Like, how many items do you load in your store for you to go through them? Because I've actually been curious, and I see people do that.
Well, it depends on how many items I'm bringing. If it's like 20 items, it's like maybe 30, 45 minutes at the most. If it's over 50 items, like 50 to 100, it takes at least 2 hours, if not more. It also depends on like how much fighting they're doing. Because every time, because I do all auctions, I don't do bundles or like buy it nows in mine. So mine are all auctions. And the way it works is that I do 20-second auctions. So if only one person bids, that listing lasts 20 seconds. If I have people fighting for it, it can last a couple minutes, because every time somebody bids, it adds 10 more seconds. So it ranges. I've not done anything higher than like, I think 80 some odd items was the most I ever did, and that took 3 hours. But I mean, I have friends that like will load 200 items and they're there for hours. But they do go in order, but because they have so many items, they're there for hours because everything's an auction.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, being on longer gives you more exposure. So if you just go on for an hour once a week, there may be a whole group of people who are never even available in that 1 hour on Tuesday at night that you go live. And so they may never even discover you. So going on for, 2 or 3 hours as like kind of a longer show, I think is a good strategy, but planning to be on for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, like minimum, I think is like a great baseline. Like when you schedule your first show, especially since it can be hit or miss and you don't know what to expect, unless it's going amazing, if the momentum is there, I would plan to do an hour and just say, I'm going to be on for an hour, see what happens. It gives you a mental deadline of like, okay, if it's not going well, I just have, 30 more minutes. It's not that bad, but you want to give people time to get to you. So I do mostly 2-hour shows on the regular during the week. And then Saturday, I usually do a 4 to 5 hour show. I posted this in my video today, a couple weeks ago when I was doing my pivot because I was struggling and didn't have books. I beat my live stream, which was previously, I want to say about 12 hours. And I was on for 13 hours and 29 minutes, I believe. Wow. So that's the longest I've ever streamed. But I used to stream consistently for like 8 hours. That was when I started. Every Saturday, I would do 1 show a week, and I was on for like a minimum of 8 hours. So that was usually 4 p.m. Eastern time, and we wouldn't end until 1 or 2 a.m. So we would just be on all night. So I was like, yeah. So that is a lot of my roots, was probably 3 or 4 or 5 months or so, just doing that 1 show a week, but on for like 8 hours. Now I do 4 shows a week that probably add up to being about 8 hours of stream time. So that works better for me.
Yeah. Like I said, I have nothing but mad respect for you. You do things so differently. I cannot do that.
Your body just starts shutting down. Somebody asked me, they were like, is it just pure adrenaline? I was like, the last 2 hours, your brain is on autopilot. You have no control of your body. You are just moving because you know the end is near. And it's wild. And I will say this, just a piece of advice: longer doesn't mean more money. Longer does mean more exposure, and I think a better overall following of chance of people to want to tune into your next shows. But longer does not mean more money. And I've learned that kind of the hard way over the years. And I know that now. I did that show for other reasons. It didn't need to be 13 hours to maximize my money. I just chose to do it that way. But I can make the same amount of money in 1 or 2 hours if I do my show a little differently instead of 4. So you can kind of run your show however you want.
Yeah, and see, instead of being on for a really long time like she does, she's right. Like, I limit myself by doing just quick shows, but the way that I try to counterbalance that is by being descriptive and doing all of like the listing, it's in this condition, showing all the, like, if it's a vintage book, like showing where all the points are. So like if they can't be there because I'm on 11 a.m. in the morning on Sunday and they're on the West Coast, they can just put a pre-bid in for however much they're willing to spend on that particular book. And I've had people do that and they win the auction and I didn't see them at all during the live. So like you can also make it so you don't have to be on for a long time. But I feel like Amanda is curating a community of buyers at that point by being on for longer and chatting and having people get to know her. And I know that there are a lot of other WhatNot sellers that sell outside of the book category where they come on and they don't even sell anything. They just have like a morning talk show where they talk to their viewers about like what's going on with them or what they're going to have later on in the week or like the raid trains they're going to do or the events they're going to have in the community.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I think treating WhatNot as a streaming service that you happen to sell on might be a better strategy if you're going on it for the first time, because that seems to be what it's turned into as it's grown, because that seems to be what a demand is building community.
I've got a crazy idea, and you both can let me know if this how crazy it is. Right, what if I name my WhatNot store name is Halloween Discount Store? And right now I go to Amazon, I buy the top 100 Amazon books that are under $5 shipped to my house. So I'm picking all these books up on Amazon for under $5 because they're extremely popular books. And then I put them all up on WhatNot starting at a $5 auction, like literally a week before Halloween. Would that be like a terrible idea?
I would do 2 weeks before Halloween at least. So that way it gets to them in time.
Okay.
To actually read it for Halloween. Well, I would actually do that before Halloween because a lot of booktubers do Halloween reads where they only read spooky books, which is part of what I'm going to talk about on my talk is like booktube and book talk, because there are a lot of people doing like community-led read-alongs. And so booktube and book talk have a lot of like book lists of stuff to read during spooky season. So Amazon top whatever might not be the same in 3 or 4 weeks once all the booktubers and book talkers have released their read-along list.
Interesting. Okay.
So keeping up with trends will also change your metrics on y'all's end.
Yeah.
Massively.
For sure.
Yeah. I would up the timeline, but I also think you will definitely lose money if you do that. Like I can almost guarantee
they both were like, "Ooh, yeah, I don't think so."
And you're gonna have a lot of Halloween books left over in your house. But timeline is super important, and that's a great point because I just immediately thought fail, but that is actually a better answer of the realistic side of it. That if you weren't paying $5 per book plus shipping or whatever, then maybe. But yeah. I would be selling so what is it? It's about to be September. So I will start officially pulling my holiday stuff out in the next probably 2 weeks.
Holiday you mean is like Christmas or
any holiday,
Halloween?
Everything
for the next 3 months.
Everything. It's officially the holidays in a week. So
yeah, I would agree with this. So it seems staying in the book community is very key to book selling on WhatNot versus Amazon.
That's what I've had success in doing. I think Amanda, you've had better success building a community where I've had better success following the community and figuring out what's going to be popular before it's popular or as it's becoming popular. I mean, and that's another thing I think to talk about. So if you want to, what is it? It Begins With Us. Is it, or It Ends With Us? Which is the movie that's out by Colleen Hoover now? Do you know, Amanda? It Ends With Us. So that book came out, I think, in 2015 or 2016 and didn't become popular until like Book Talk picked it up in like like 2019 and 2020, and then now it's its own movie, and like Colleen Hoover is so prolific everywhere. But that book had been out for like 7 years before it reached the bestseller list.
Yeah.
So
oh wow.
Like it's the same thing with ACOTAR. Like ACOTAR had been out for years, and then once Book Talk got a hold of it, like BookTube got a hold of it, and then it kind of died. And then once Book Talk got a hold of it, it just exploded beyond measure to where it is the insane series that it is now. So following those trends can help you. It ends with that. Thank you, Delia. But something that might have had a terrible Amazon sell through, and you guys have been like, oh, I obviously know that that's not going to sell. Like maybe the next week, the best book talker will been like, I love this book. And then it just snowballs from there.
Yeah, I don't think it would harm you to get on a little bit of a book talk or booktube side. Maybe find 1 or 2 creators that you enjoy the way they deliver content, or they give enough consistent, like they're giving content every week, and they might just organically pop up, and you just watch that video once a week, and they just tell you the top 10 books that they think are going to be the next trendy books, so that you can kind of have an idea. You can do your online arbitrage and get it before the 2 or 3 weeks where the cycle really kicks up and everyone goes for it. So
and this next question I actually was about to ask, who should we follow? Are there anyone would you guys recommend that we should like start watching their videos or Instagram?
Yeah, not me.
I do watch your material, Bob, because like what you're doing, I write it down. Now I'm watching every one of your videos and I'm learning a lot. So that's
so very sweet. I'm still very much a newbie. Like, so I've realized I've accidentally created a demand for certain authors that I care a lot about, but that ends up happening on BookTube. So like, I know if I bring Mercedes Lackey or like if Ray Bradbury or certain authors that I've talked a lot about during my WhatNots and talked about online. I also, whenever I talk about a book, even on the reselling channel, I will put an Amazon link in there for like if it's a more modern book to do it as well. And people like I've gotten Amazon affiliate money from that because of the fact that I randomly mentioned it. So at some point I'm like, I'm creating a demand as well. But as far as, so if you follow very popular booktubers that have a very highly engaged audience, chances are if they read a book and give it a favorable review, it is going to do well. So instead of maybe necessarily following booktuber book talk creators, what you can do is look for top 10 lists that have received a lot of views.
I see. Interesting.
And engagement, so that way you don't necessarily have to follow specific creators, because Delia, I don't know what kind of books you're interested in selling. So I'm very specific to science fiction, media death cults, book pilled, outlaw bookseller. Those are like the top 3 dudes that have like a very dedicated audience. And so when they talk, things happen. So I'm watching their content consistently. Also, Matt's a friend of mine. So that has helped me out like as well. But I'm actually pulling together a list for my discussion specifically on top creators you should follow in each category for my talk, which is why it's so late, is because I'm also trying to do book talk as well. And book talk, if you think BookTube is bad, book talk is worse. There's so many creators out there. And especially now that they have the TikTok shop, that it's made it even more convoluted and difficult to deal with. So
I want to share really quickly some books, because we were talking about Christmas. Have you either of you seen this book, Merry Christmas Songbook? What about this book, another Merry Christmas Songbook?
No,
or one of these books.
If it's Twas the Night Before Christmas, if it's in good shape, I would normally pick it up anyway if I like the art style.
Okay.
Because that's a classic, and the illustrations for children's books can sometimes be what's the most important.
This is what Victor and I do. So we look at a book that's like.
So this is an ideal book
to look at for me.
I
so much information.
I buy this book every year. It's a great Christmas book. that every year really spikes off during Christmas. So
we'll just look at the black line first. So the black line represents the lowest used price over time for this book on Amazon, and you can see December every year it spikes to like $35-$40, right, every single year. And then the sales rank is this green line, which all you need to know is that the lower the number gets, the more popular it is. So the point is like, okay, this is what like Victor and I would do is we'll buy this in the off season. Like right now we'd buy it when it's like $6 because we know when it comes to November, December, this is going to get up to the $30 or $40 mark because it's so valuable, right? And so it's like that's not the only Christmas book that does it. I mean, there's so many Christmas books that are just like that, and you like once you get a little bit more advanced reading cubographs, which a lot of people on our channel would, but maybe not necessarily either of you because you don't read cubographs, but if you just, I mean, you guys can clearly see it, right? Like these
I can see the demand and sell through rate. Like that's basic economics, but
right.
It's nice that you guys have developed something that it's all on the same screen.
Yeah. Yeah. So
thank you.
Pretty crazy, but anyways, we're getting near that end. I just want to let everyone know these two amazing creators and WhatNot booksellers, Amanda and also Bob, are going to be at the Books and Beyond Resellers Conference. And you guys can go to booksandbeyondcon.com. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. And we've got a lot of awesome speakers here. So, we just have been networking with two of them here. You were able to, ask questions. I'm really excited to hear their talks. They didn't even really want to give away what they're going to talk about, which kind of shows you that they're planning.
And they've been working on them. Yeah, this is gonna be great. I want to make sure I don't follow you guys. So
I'm
gonna go back.
Listen, you said that whoever follows you is gonna be sad Sally, and I think I'm following you. So
no, I don't think so. Oh well,
so who said that? Somebody said whoever's following me, and I followed them, and I was like, great. So whoever I follow is about to bring it. So I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm so confused about what just happened.
Yeah.
Well,
also, all you need to know is that September 13th.
You should follow everybody that is above me, Brady Bunch style.
Yeah, as well as
Bob. No, we're talking about in the speaker lineup.
Yeah.
We're talking about in the conference, like
following your speakers.
Victor,
you shouldn't say that about yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying he's ahead of me, but he said maybe not, so I was mistaken. But regardless,
it's going to be a great time. We're going to have a bunch of awesome speakers. I mean, all four of us will be speaking there. You're going to meet us in person, ask us questions behind the scenes. It'll be awesome just to hang out and chat. Really, I think the value is in the networking. Obviously, the talks I think are going to be very valuable as well, but just being able to talk with someone who's been there, done that, is being successful will be really helpful. So that's going down in a couple of weeks. It's in Las Vegas, September 13th through 15th. Delia is here to support us. He said, y'all got to kill it. Delia is also going to be there. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you grab your
wife,
ticket.
Right?
Yeah.
She seems amazing.
Yeah, she's not here right now. Otherwise, I'd just be talking to her. But she's visiting my in-laws or her parents. So,
So
get yourself a good lady there.
Thank you.
So
it's going to be so much fun. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, please go check them out because you don't want to miss it. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Like even what were you saying earlier, Bob, that you were going to talk about it? Oh, you were curating this information. So this is a perfect question. You're curating this for this conversation. So this is the top, you think you've heard some gems and some nuggets on these interviews.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the heat to this interview. I'm like, okay, so my speech is going to be, you paid to be here. You came, you showed up, you showed up for your business. I'm going to give you everything I have and I'm not holding back. So come and give me all your questions because I'll answer every single one of them.
Wow.
I'm very excited to hear about your talk about WhatNot.
Yeah.
Because you do it so differently than I do. And I just love
I know. That's why I'm thinking the same thing as yours. I'm like, ooh, okay, can't wait to hear.
Yeah.
Same thing with Victor and I.
We're all you guys. I'm going to be sitting there and watching all you guys. So
it's going to be a room full of incredible people who are doing amazing things, and it's all book related. So if you are into books or you want to get into books, this is going to be the place to be. So
it's going to be awesome. Bulk books, eBay books,
right? So 5 years down the road, we'll be able to come back and see how we all started this. So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Bulk books, eBay books, WhatNot books, Amazon books. Rare and antiquarian books. So I mean, there's a lot of
sell back your book.
Sell back your books.
Sell back your books is going to be there. That's right.
Bill's going to be there, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And even I know Victor's planning stuff in his talk that he doesn't share on YouTube, doesn't share in our groups. I'm also planning on sharing some stuff that I don't share online either. So we really want to bring the value. That's all. So it's going to be an awesome time. Make sure you grab your tickets. But thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you so much, Bob, for joining us.
For coming on.
Victor, you had to be here, but thank you all. Awesome. Thank you all for being here.
I didn't have to be here.
I'm so excited to meet you all.
Yeah, it was exciting to meet you guys.
Yep. All right, guys. See you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.